Good morning, guys. Welcome in. Welcome. Welcome in, everybody. Give me a second while I deal with a few things here on the back end, trying to get everything sorted out. I don't know why it didn't post over here. Let's see. All right. All right. Welcome in, guys. Good morning. I hope everybody had a absolutely beautiful weekend and is ready to dive into the charts. Welcome in. Welcome in, Stephen Can, Mr. White, or Miss White, sorry. Troy Denvis, Joy Johnson, Mena, Taylor, David. Welcome in, guys. How is everybody doing? Welcome in. Can you guys hear me? Shout me out. Net Infinity, welcome in. Good morning. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Can you guys all hear me loud and clear? Doing a sound check. Can you guys all hear me loud and clear on your end? Welcome in. Awesome salsa. Beautiful. All right. Let's roll. So today's session, obviously some things happening here in the pre-market, right? Craziness. We have big gap ups in the market, and the question becomes, what do we do, right? I mean, this has just become something that we've seen all the time. It's a gap up, it's a gap up, it's a gap up, and almost the same thing happens every time we gap up. So let's discuss what's going on in this gap up, how we can combat this gap up in this pre-market session. And we're going to discuss some top watches today's session, okay? We have some top watches from this morning, and you guys probably know what it is. It's going to be the AMD, right? A little bit of AMD action here in the pre-market. It's going to be a little bit of NVIDIA in the pre-market as well. NVIDIA, obviously one of the top watches. The SMH is hot. The SMH is very hot. The SMH is moving higher and is retaining key levels. So let's discuss the SMH today and what we're going to do on it going into our Monday morning. We're also going to discuss some things here on Apple. Obviously, Apple also strong. We'll discuss some things in Amazon. Tesla. Tesla is one of the weakest names in the pre-market session. A gap up, but under the Friday's highs. So this is a very important morning here on Tesla. So we're going to discuss this Tesla gap up and basically a gap up into nothing, right? A gap up into the abyss here, right? So what is going on here in Tesla? Is there a potential short today here in Tesla if the market is relatively weak? So that's just on the docket for this morning. We have a lot to go over, and we are going to have a beautiful pre-market session. Without further ado, I want to go into this quickly. I want to jump into this very quickly. So today, this week in particular, is centered around our econ data and earnings reports. All right, and obviously this is a very big week. It's actually one of the biggest weeks I've ever seen. The reason why is because we had a lot of things pushed into this week's session. And things that were delayed from last week or 2 weeks prior are all pushed into this week. Now, the lingering thing still is the government shutdown. The government is still shut down, but potentially opening up soon. It would make sense for it to open up this week, just based upon where things have always opened up. And I think if the government shutdown continues into Friday, this would be the longest government shutdown ever. Possibly reopening, but we have no idea, right? But what we do know is we have the data in front of us. Okay, the data what's in front of us is for Monday session today. We have some routine, nothing crazy, right? On the econ side, we have durable goods at 10 o'clock or 8:30, and then this is already delayed, right? So obviously this hasn't come out. But tomorrow's session, we have consumer confidence. We have consumer confidence in Case-Shiller Home Price Index. And then on Wednesday session, we have big data, the FOMC announced, and this is going to be out, right? It does not care if the market's delayed, right? If the government shut down, it's not going to get delayed, right? This is going to be posted. So obviously be aware of that going into our Wednesday session. With or without a government shutdown, we have the FOMC this week, right? I believe that's the case. GDP on Thursday, barring the government still open, or government reopens. And then obviously Friday, we have PCE and Chicago PMI. So this week is a big week in terms of our econ data. Obviously, today's session, not too big. Nothing's really in the docket for today's session. In terms of earnings reports, for this week, we have basically peppered in data every single day in the pre-market and the after-hour session, okay? Now, today's session, I don't think there's anything that's important, but going into tomorrow, starting with Tuesday, we have some big ones. We have SoFi Financial, right? SoFi Financial. We have, which is a top watch for me for a long term. So transparently, I am hoping for a dip here. I don't think I'm going to get it because I think SoFi is going to rip. I think SoFi is going to go to 40 plus, but I'm waiting for my dip. And sometimes your dip never comes, but I'm waiting for my dip to buy, right? So SoFi Financial reporting on Tuesday. Let's hope for an opportunity to buy this on Tuesday, okay? Or after Tuesday, rather. UNH, United Health Group, on Tuesday pre-market, PayPal, PYPL, UPS, HSBC, and then you also have our JetBlue on the pre-market session of Tuesday as well. In the after hours, we have Visa, and in the pre-market and Enphase, and in the pre-market on Wednesday, we have VZ, Verizon, we have Boeing, BA, we have CVS. On Wednesday, we have Meta, Google, Alphabet, which is Google. We have Microsoft, we have Carvana, and Chipotle, right? So some big things happening on Wednesday. And Thursday, Eli Lilly, MRK, Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, Reddit, and then Friday, the oil names. So this week is a very big week, not only for our econ data, but also for the earnings side, okay? So be aware of that going into our week ahead of us. Swanee, no, I did not buy SoFi yet. I tried to buy SoFi, and I tried to buy SoFi here, right? When it dipped, I was trying to get filled right around here. This is when I started talking about buying SoFi right here. And look at my buy zone. My buy zone's right there, right? So this little discrepancy between the low of that candle and my buy zone is what caused me not to get filled. I do think this rips though. I think it goes higher, but ultimately I need to get in at a dip, right? So if I can get in a dip, I'll get in this. All right, so let's dive into our first chart of today's session. Let's jump into it. SPY. So lots going on here in the pre-market session. We have a gap up here following some news over the weekend and in the pre-market session. Let's not get into the news though. Let's talk just about the charts. So basically, we've seen these gap ups before, all right? And in most cases on these gap ups, we tend to get, it's really one of two things that happen, right? It's either a gap fill, pull back to demand, or it's a gap and go, right? And if you look at where we were on the Friday session after its gap up, Friday session was a gap and go, right? So Friday session was just basically a gap up in the market, a consolidation, and then kind of a go, right? Now, on these gap up days, it is very difficult for traders in the intraday because you either have to administer a high level of patience and wait for a pullback to demand with the idea of maybe you not taking a trade that session, or you're going to look for shorts at the highs. Because when you have a gap and go in the market, it's difficult to look for longs above the highs on a gap and go, right? It's just difficult. It's hard to wrap your head around a market extending past in a pre-market gap, right? And so most traders, when we have a gap up like this, either on Friday or even this Monday morning, you're looking for a pullback to our key demand zones. And the key demand zone on the Friday session was what? It was 674. So if you were looking for longs on Friday, it was here, right? This is where your top watch should have been for longs on the Friday session. Now, if you notice something on Friday session was basically just consolidation day, right? Kind of a gap and kind of a go / consolidation day. It wasn't really much juice behind this move. It basically just pushed into supply, right, and fell back lower. Now on Friday, me, Mike, and Rav all took short on SPY. But to be honest with you, it's these type of trades in these gap and go environments, you'll get some money, right? And we got some money in that trade, but it didn't really do anything, right? It just kind of sold off a little bit in the demand here and ended up consolidating all day. Now today's session here on SPY, it looks almost identical to Friday session, right? We have a gap up and an island produced here, right? We're just in an island right now in no man's land. The question is this morning is this: do we get this pullback? This is the pullback that you want to see. This is your long entry. This is where you can get some size on longs, right? If you want to look for pullbacks, you're looking for a PDH pullback, a PDH to the previous day highs, which would be the Friday's highs, 678.50 to 678, right? So I think this is the top watch for this morning is going to be, hey, do we pull back to the 678s? Because if we do, we're looking for longs there, right? But in the short term, the issue is that we're in an island, right? And when you're in an island, you have to trade the island. Either you're going to trade above the highs for longs, right? Or you're going to trade a breakdown under the lows here, the pre-market lows, for the gap fill back into demand zone below. So my top watch this morning is actually going to be based upon the island. My island level is the low here at 682. And if we break below 682, I'm looking for a gap fill and a move down lower. Or I'm going to watch for the 678.50 demand bounce. Now, here's the beautiful part about trading. The beautiful part about trading is you have absolute free will. You can decide for whatever reason that you don't want to short the market today because the market's gapping up and the market's strong and betas are strong. So you say, I don't want to take opportunity number one, but you're going to wait entirely for opportunity number two. And you can wait for the pullback long to a demand zone at 678 for longs there, right? And so that is a valid approach today, right? Either looking for a pullback, a gap fill short side play back into demand, or you're looking for a 678.50 demand hold, which would be your best long entry today's session. That's what it's about today, right? It's going to be about your pre-market lows resulting in the gap fill or the demand zone below. Now, if you had this exact mindset on Friday's session, how did you do? Well, you probably didn't take a single trade on Friday, right? If you noticed something on Friday's session, if you had that same mindset that I just talked about here for Monday, on Friday, you took no trades. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily the wrong idea, right? Because it just didn't happen on Friday. Today's session, I think it's still valid, and that should be in the top watch for everybody, but it may not happen. In fact, what may happen is you may see what happened on Friday happen on Monday. What happened on Friday? Basically, we just pushed in a supply zone, and we saw some short-term rejections off supply, right? And that's what happened. We stayed relatively ranged, and we just rejected off supply zone, and we stayed basically within the same $3 or $4 range. Now, today's session, we have a supply above us. The supply above us is these 684s. If you are looking for a failure today in the market, right, which again is frothy, it's a little spicy, but if you're looking for something, you want to look for a failure point without looking for the gap fill breakdown, you could look for the 684 failure, right, which would be a downside move there. So I'm watching a few different things today. A higher risk failure of the supply above us, 684. I'm also watching the gap fill down below for the move under 682 back into 678. That's number two. And then obviously also the top watch, which I think should be in everyone's watch this morning, is the 678s for demand bounce, right? That is my top watch going into my week. And again, I know it's three different scenarios, but we must be open to this because what is it today? It's a Monday, right? We don't know what the appetite is for the market. What if the market just does this today? What if the market just breaks above 678 on one fat green candle and then never pulls back, right? Well, if that happens, we're just going to sit back and watch the market, right? Because that is what Monday is all about. Monday is about collecting that data. And if you look at ES's chart, it's going to confirm what we just said, right? Look at the ES chart here. The first thing is, where the hell is that 684 coming from? Because everything we talk about in the pre-market session is based upon levels and historical data. Now, the one thing about 684 is, wait for it, it's not about historical data. 684 is not about historical data. And for some of you guys who trade off historical data, you're probably wondering, why is this guy talking about 684? And you're probably right. The reason why is because 684 lines up solely with 6,900 ES. When you have new all-time highs in the market, these psychological ES levels, either SPY or ES, tend to be important numbers for us, or important areas where the market finds resistance or the market finds support, right? And so right now, we are gapping up on the ES chart right into 6,900 ES. Now, transparently, this is not really a level yet. This is not really a level yet, right? And what I mean by that is basically we just kind of have this as an area of interest. So for this morning here on the SPY, I am watching a 684 failure. But we need to see exactly how the market's going to react to that. Because again, this is not a proven and tested level yet. We don't have these wick rejections here that obviously tell us it's a level. It's just simply a psychological ES level. So this morning, I am watching for a 6,900 failure, which would be 684 on the SPY chart. but I want to see how the market reacts to that to get that data to then say, hey, there is a trade here, right? And if I see us pop above the 6900 here in ES or 684 in SPY and fail back below, this would be a watch for me here on the ES chart. And maybe it's 685, or someone just said I charted the 685. It could be 685 as well, right? So again, we don't really know yet, and that's what's important. It's the upside. We are at all-time highs here in the SPY, and it's okay not to know exactly where yet because we are at the all-time highs. The most important thing though is if you do see the market pull back to PDH, that's your long-based entry, right? So again, if you see the market fail back into its PDH here, which would be 68.41, this is your top watch for long-based entries, okay? You want to see us hold that level there and stair step off that demand zone, okay? So 68.41 here on the ES chart for demand. And of course, our supply above us makes us have a pretty easy session this morning, right? You have your supply above, bam, right there. That's your supply. It's not really a level yet, but should be a level depending on how we react to it. And then you have your demand zone below 68.41 as your PDH, as your Friday's highs. That's all it is today, right? That's all it is going into our Monday morning. And again, Monday morning is about being a data collector. Now, if we do break and hold under 68.68, which would be, 68, yes, I said it right. 68 here, which is the ES pre-market lows. Then obviously you can look for the gap fill and move down lower. So you know what we're doing today, right? It's either going to be a breakdown under the lows here of the pre-market session for the gap fill. It's either going to be a pullback to our demand zone for a long-based entry, or it's going to be a pop and fade here, 6900 for a downside move. I'm watching for all three scenarios today going into my Monday morning. Now, what would make me bearish here on the chart? Basically, the only real bearish move here on the ES chart would be if we got back below this 6800 ES. That's what it is, right? This would be everything above 6800 ES is if you're shorting here, right? This is probably the most important thing I'll say about today's session is if you are shorting the highs, right, for downside moves, shorting the highs for downside moves, you know that basically you are shorting in an overall uptrend for a pullback to 6800, which probably results in a new long entry, right? So just keep that in mind. 6800 is your most critical demand zone. Obviously, you have support here as well at the PDH, which is Friday's highs, but 6800 is your bull bear pivot in the market. So even if we do sell off like this today, let's just say for whatever reason, Monday, Tuesday session, we come into pre-market and we see the market opening like this, right? The market opens like this. I'm going to say this is your demand zone. Watch this level for longs, right? Because again, this is still a critical demand zone below at 6800 ES. Okay, so be aware of that. I'm trying to make you guys understand the short-term ideas here, but also the long-term ideas. The short-term ideas, yeah, you probably look for pop and fades today, right? In a 6900. But if we do fail back lower, every demand zone below is a landmine for us to find bids in the market and go right back into all-time highs. It's there, it's here, right? Every demand below is still a longable demand as long as we are in this overall uptrend, which is defined by whether or not we are above 6800 ES. Keep that in mind if you were shorting today. Keep that in mind if you were looking for longs today. Demand is the key thing to watch going into our Monday morning, okay? That being said, let's move into some other charts today. Let's go to QQQ, all right? On the Q's chart, we're in an island this morning, okay? And the first thing you want to do when we trade an island like this is you probably want to chase long entries. And I'll tell you this, it's not worth it, right? Even if you make money today here on Qs, chasing longs into an island here, we shouldn't be doing that, okay? We are in Australia right now. We don't need to be doing this. We need to wait for us to pull back to our demand zones below, right? The first demand zone below is 618, okay? 618, which is the Friday's highs. Your second demand zone, which is the bull bear pivot in the whole market, is 613. And notice something, right? If you are a break and retest trader, ask yourself, what is the most important level today here in SPY and Qs? Just do yourself a favor, right? Reset everything for a second. And you're going to say the most important thing here in the chart is going to be 613. At some point, this is going to happen. It may happen this week. It may happen next week. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but the best possible long entry is this. This is your best possible long entry. It is 613 on the QQQ. And what does that mean? Does that mean we just short the whole market down here? No, it means you can look for shorts. You can look for shorts under the pre-market lows here for a downside back in the highs here. This is still demand zone below. But then obviously 613 we're going to pull back to eventually. This is your biggest long entry here in the market at 613, right? And you can still take trades before then. But the key thing to recognize is the fact that we are still waiting for that 613 retest long, okay? And if you go to the SPY chart for a second, do the same thing in SPY's chart. Where's the pullback long on SPY? You guys know what it is, right? It's the 674 previous all-time highs here, right? It is this level right here. Reset everything, make it simple, just so you can see it. Go to the 1 hour time frame, 673 to 674. Look at this pent-up demand here, right? We have a high produced here, previous all-time high supply. We consolidated here for a while. We broke out. Oh, excuse me. My cough is still there. For whatever reason, my cough is still there. Let me get some hydration. It happens when I yell. It's crazy. Anyway, so basically, market ripped up higher, and we are still waiting for this pullback long to demand, right? So just keep that in mind. This will happen at some point in time, and this is still a retest to go long at if we do get there at some point, even if it's this week or even next week, okay? 673, 674 as your major retest long entry, okay? All right, Mena, wow, thank you very much. Mena, that is very kind of you. Thank you for the donation. That is much appreciated, Mena. Very, very kind of you. What if that never happens? It will happen, right? The market will pull back here at some point. I can tell you that. There's a very strong chance the market will pull back there at some point. Almost every single time the market has these major consolidation levels. The market does pull back there. It does. Now, it may happen when we're all not interested, right? Because what's going to happen is this, right? The market's going to sell off one day, right? And we're all going to sit there saying, you know what? I don't want to long this anymore because it's selling off. It's selling off. It's selling off. It's selling off. Wow, this is a big downside day. Maybe the market's going to go to zero, and then does this, right? It does that right in front of you, and you're now sitting there, damn, that was the best long entry. You just missed it, right? That's what happens to us all the time. That's basically, it's the human emotion, right? It's human emotion in trading. Keep this on the main watch. Is this pullback long over there? If it does happen, it's still a valid long entry, okay? All right. I'm going super fast today, but there's enough of SPY. Yes. NVIDIA. Let's move on. So NVIDIA is interesting. Okay. Why is NVIDIA interesting? NVIDIA is interesting because it did the most bullish thing on our Friday session. Okay. What was bullish about Friday? The 184 retest hold. Okay. This basically broke above 184. It retested it. Big upside. And now this morning we are consolidating over 190. Okay. My watch here on NVIDIA is one of two things. The main thing is going to be, do we get the pullback to our PDH around the 187s? So I'm watching the 187s for pullback today here on NVIDIA. Is if we get a pullback here to 187, I'm looking for longs on this entry right there, right? I'm looking for a PDH pullback. A lot of things today on this Monday morning is about PDH, but the Friday's highs. So look for Friday high pullback there for longs. The second watch I'm looking for here on NVIDIA is going to be the 184s. 184 for a pullback long. Now notice something. I don't want to be long here though, because I know 190 is a big level, right? But the issue with 190 is we're gapping up right now. 190 is a major hold spot, but I would prefer pullback longs to demand. And here's where I could be wrong, right? On SPY, I know we're going to get that pullback to that 673, 674. But on NVIDIA, I don't know, right? This could very well just turn the 190 into support here and rip into the highs here at 195, 196. So if you're trading this, understand you can do it three ways, but I'm only focusing on two of those three ways. I'm looking for a pullback to here, 187, or a pullback to 184 for a long entry. Those are my two entries. But if we hold 190, we're just going to rip into the 196s, okay? So again, this is a potential break and retest here, 190, but just be aware that it is on a gap up, right? AMD, same idea in AMD, right? AMD is in an island this morning. Excuse me. But the 253s or the 243s are your pullback longs today's session, right? Watching for the first pullback long here at the 253s for a long base entry. And I'm also watching for a pullback long to the 243s for a pullback long entry, right? Pullback long number one, pullback long number two. And this was a beautiful chart on Friday, right? You guys saw the maintenance above 243. This was perhaps the best trade on Friday session, was just longing AMD at the open as it broke above 243. If you guys recall, what did we say about this chart for a while? Right? We said this is a bullish consolidation, and I have some stuff written over here. But now we broke 243. The question now is, do we get the pullback long? So your pullback long is going to be here and there. So watch that today's session. Nothing else to say here in AMD because you guys already know what the long-term view is, right? SMH. On the SMH chart, it is all about the 353s today, right? The Friday's highs, I think at some point I think there's a 95% chance we get this pullback long to demand, right? And what does that mean? that means wait for the pullback to our demand zone to go long, right? Just very simply, look for the SMH to pull out to 353, because if we do, that's your long base entry, right? If we fail below 353, we're going to 347. But as of right now, the first demand, the most important demand zone, is the Friday's highs, right? 353. Tesla. On the Tesla chart is one of the only names this morning that is not moving up with SPY, right? You see some gap up here on this chart, okay? But notice something. Notice the fact that this chart is under the Friday's highs, okay? This is under the Friday's highs. But notice SPY is well above the Friday's highs. Notice that Amazon, right, AMZN, right, is well above the Friday's highs. Apple, look at this, above the Friday's highs, right? You can see most names are above the Friday's highs, but Tesla is lagging the overall market. And what does that mean for us? That means that this name is not moving, that is not as strong, right? And for that reason, I would watch this name for shorts. If the market flips weak, I think this chart will flip even weaker. So keep this in the back burner today, right? Is if we see us pop and fade here 445 or a downside move, the only upside I have here on Tesla is going to be, do we break and hold above the 450s? If we clear above this 450, then we're going to go higher, right? It's just as simple as that, right? The relative weakness doesn't matter anymore. We're going to rip higher. So this is your long entry here in Tesla. If it does happen, that is your flip back to bull bias. But as of right now, your bias here on Tesla is probably bear bias. And I would agree with that, right? The market's under Friday's highs. Well, actually, the market's above Friday's highs and Tesla's under Friday's highs. So that gives us a bear sentiment here on our Tesla this morning, okay? Again, though, if we break 450, that's where things change. And you can look for an upside move. So watching the 450 for breakout. But again, the top watch this morning, though, is really going to be this one, right? The 445 failure today here on Tesla, okay? Let's move on. Let's go over a few more, guys. Let's go over a few more. Palantir. PLTR, really interesting because Palantir, for the first time in a long time, is now breaking above the 188s, right? If you notice something here in Palantir, PLTR, we have not been at these levels since August of 2025. And we are right back at the Palantir profit taking spot. Now, transparently, this chart looks very strong, right? I listed this as the Jonathan Gutierrez. Wow, much appreciated, man. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you for the donation. Very kind of you. If you guys remember, October 31st, you know what that is, right? Halloween, but it's also the giveaway. So I'll see you guys all on Friday. You guys better show up. There's 1,100 people here this morning on this Monday morning, which is crazy. I want to have 1,500 people here on Friday. So tell all your friends to come because it'll be a beautiful giveaway. Okay, so obviously Palantir 188 is your supply zone. You can see 188 as your big supply. 188 is your big supply. 188 is your biggest supply, and right now we are above 188. So I think that I know in the back of my head. And this is the profit taking spot here in Palantir. But this looks very strong. And I think it's as clear as this. If we are above 188, we're going to rip. 188 rip, and we see possibly 200 in the stock. I think this could be like a 200 breakout trade. I know it's crazy, but it could happen. But if we fail back below 188, then you know where we're going. We're going right back to channel lows here. So everything that happens today here in Palantir this week is going to be defined by 188, right? 188 above, 188 below. If we're below 188, downside back into the 170s, 172. If we're above 188, we're going into the 200s for that big macro breakout. And why is 188 so important? Go back into the chart here. Look at Palantir recently. Look at the back in August, right? Notice something about the 188s. Notice how important this level was. You can see 188, Friday high, Tuesday high. We tried to hold it on Wednesday. Big downside, right? So this is your most important level here, is this 188. I have these levels marked out because I go back and look at these charts intraday and I find these things that are really important for us. And this is why I know 188 is so important. It's not the 190s that are so important. It's actually the 188s that are so important, okay? So that's what it is here on Palantir, PLTR, all right? Let's go back. Let's go to some other names today, right? Let's go over Amazon, okay? Amazon is probably my top watch, and you may not like it, but I do, right? And this is the thing is, I will tell you guys what I'm going to trade that session, and I usually will trade it. Now today here at Amazon, I'm watching 225s. This is nice because I want to find names that are strong to look for pullbacks in demand. Okay, either you do that or you short SPY, right, into supply. And Amazon is strong, but it's not that strong, okay? And it's kind of a good thing, because when you have a name that's too strong and it's too obviously strong, it becomes too long heavy and then fades back into a relatively weak name, and then you just lost a lot of money, right? And so the names that are super strong this morning, probably argue AMD, right? AMD would be the strongest name this morning, okay? That would be the strongest name going into a pre-market session. But you have names like Amazon, which are strong, but it's not that strong, okay? And even though you're probably looking like I'm crazy, look at the 50-minute time frame here, right? This chart is strong, but it's not that strong. There is some opportunity back in all-time highs. So I'm watching this 225 level today here on Amazon for pullback longs. If we can pull back into 225 today, and I see us maintain like this, like a little bit of a maintenance here, 225. This is my top watch for longs today, okay? Keep this on the back burner, guys. Amazon 225, right? Let's move on. I shouldn't be I'm probably giving too much away on this pre-market. I think I should kind of learn to do that a little bit less. Apple. I should just tell you guys the levels. I don't have to tell you guys what my top watch is. Okay, because I feel like that messes up the trade sometimes too. It does. I think it really does. I don't know. Maybe I'm just speculative. I think I'm too speculative now. I've become too speculative. Right. Apple 265, right? Very clear level here. 265 is clear supply. This is a break and retest type trade. Okay. You have a beautiful high produced here at 265. Can we get above it? Right. Simple as that. Can we get above it? Right now we're trying to, but this is your break and retest long entry here. So watching Apple 265 for longs. If we can break and hold above it, that's my long entry today, about 265, okay? Moving on. Or sorry, forgot, whoa. Bam, okay, so right, we have a supply above us, 265, but your pullback long spot is 260. So watching for either this today or watching for this today, right? Those are my two watches today's session here on Apple's chart, okay? Let's move on. Let's go over a few other names today. Let's go over gold, GLD, right? Gold's been up top one. I think everyone's watching gold, right? What's going on here in gold? Okay. Well, if you're not short already, you kind of missed the boat, right? That's just simply what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You have demand below here at 369s. Why do I have a demand there? I have a demand here at the 369s. You can see there's demand here, but I don't have any previous data to show that. Just that previous low here. So I'm actually going to remove this as my. No, I'll keep it. I'll keep this. So I have 373, 369, and supply high here, 385. I think if you're watching anything today, you still should be watching this rejection here at the previous highs, right? This is your top watch for rejections. If you can pop in a supply here, you're looking for the pop and fade, right? Very simply, the pop and fade here. I would say you don't really want to be short back into our demand zone below here, right? This is your demand zone below. This is not an area you want to be short into. If you do break and hold below it, then obviously that's your short. This is your short, and that's your short, okay? I would keep that on the watch going into our gold on this Monday morning, okay? Guys, that's it. That's it for me. We already went over NVIDIA, guys. I think a lot of tickers you guys are typing, we actually already went over, so I'm gonna pop off here. Thank you all for joining in. It is a Monday morning. Monday morning, we always spend more time in ES, SPY, and QQQ, right? So just bear with me. But as we go through the rest of the week, we'll spend less time on it, right? So I know you guys are probably wondering why we spent so much time on SPY today. We always do that on Monday, right? We always spend 15 minutes on the ETFs and the indices on Monday morning. Guys, thank you all for joining in. I will see you all for live trading. If you don't live trade with us in the WAP in the description down below. It's in the channel. We're getting a lot of DMs about that. It's in my description of this YouTube video. It's right there. We trade every day. Okay. I'll see you guys all there. Bye, guys.